Good evening. I'll now call the City of Cannon Falls City Council meeting for Tuesday, August the 20th to order. Roll call.
Councilmember Duncan.
Here.
Holst.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Mattson.
Here.
McCusker.
Yes.
Schoblum.
Here.
And Mayor Robinson.
Here. All please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City Council meeting. The chair will now take a motion of the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Merle, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Brings us to item 5 on the agenda this evening, public input. Citizens may speak to issues not on the agenda. Before speaking, please give your name and address for the minutes, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to address the council? Please come up and sign in.
I sign in first?
Yep, please.
Somebody's got to fix the mic there, guys. He'll get it for you.
Button on.
Thank you. Okay, hi, thank you. My name is Roseanne Snelling of Cannon Falls, and my husband and I have a vending place at the farmer's market, and we like the area very much, and we like to periodically go back and forth, but something was addressed this weekend about safety, and I work a lot with the people at the Twin Rivers, and I was speaking to one of the people that came down, and they said that they liked it when it was on the other side because they could walk down the sidewalk and not have to cross the street. And so, anyway, I said I would ask the council if there was something they could do to make it a little bit more safer when they cross the street. And just with all the construction and stuff, it seems a little bit more chaotic, but I think once things get settled down, it should work out. But the safety thing is more my concern, them crossing the street when it's, a lot of traffic, and, and they have their canes and their walkers, and they looked forward to coming to the market because they could just walk down the sidewalk. And then some of the other vendors were saying that their produce and their sales were down like 50%. But again, it's probably just trying to get, acclimated and where the new position is. But so anyway, I just thought I would address that and share that if there's any ideas for safety of crossing the street or how we could work on that. But
There is going to be a crosswalk going in down that way.
okay.
Yeah,
I
with
did
some,
see
with
it.
some flashers on both
Yep.
sides.
Oh,
so
awesome.
it-
Okay.
It's just taking some time, and then that'll be in place.
Okay. Is there anything in the meantime, in the interim, that could help them, or?
I don't believe there's anything we can do in the interim. Is there, Aaron or Jeff?
It'd be really hard to do something, right now, given, it's just sort of the activity that's occurring on 19 is so unpredictable. Even on Saturdays, I noticed the crews have been out working and stuff. What we could do is, from the police department standpoint, is we can ask our day officer on the weekend just to spend a little bit more time on that stretch of 19, especially during the hours the farmers market is open, and try to keep traffic speeds down where they should be, but a lot of times they aren't. That would be one of the things we could do.
I think, coming down that hill, sometimes the speeds are a little excessive, but if we can get the officer to make an extra effort there, that'd be great.
That'd be great. And it would give the people more, because they look forward to the Saturdays going out, but they're afraid to cross. So that'd be great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Robbie, I got a question. I've gotten so many calls on this, and we got the agricultural sales thing coming up. So I did want to discuss some things about the farmer's market. Would it be better to wait till we get to that, or to discuss that now?
Let us wait till we get to that so that we can, to kill
Okay,
one.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the council? Come on up and please sign in.
Good evening. My name is Steve
Josephson of Josephson's Homegrown Sweet Corn. I'm not a resident of Cannon Falls, but I'm a resident of the rural area of Cannon Falls. Do I need my whole address there? 35645 County 24. I'm 6.2 miles out of town. And to me, we have two issues. One is the farmer's market for a few hours on Saturday morning. The other is the other 6.5 days of the week. I happen to sell sweet corn in town 7 days a week. There's a couple of other vendors who either want to sell sweet corn or raspberries or eggs or various other items. If we were in the city parking lot the other 6.5 days of the week, we really wouldn't interfere with traffic patterns, with parking patterns. There wouldn't be a safety issue. To me, we've got two separate issues. And the other 6.5 days, we have 1, 2, or 3 vendors, 1, 2, or 3 customers at a time. It doesn't take up a lot of space in the city parking lot. I checked last week 3 times during the week, and the city parking lot was about 25% full, 25 out of 100 spaces. So to me, we've got two issues. We've got the 6.5 days, and we've got the farmer's market day. The other issue I have with the farmer's market is that we're moving and we're disrupting the farmer's market for the customers and the people selling for the benefit of bikers. No? That was the reason given to me, was that the bikers were filling up the parking lot and it was becoming crowded. To me, it's been a few hours out of the week where there is congestion. It is getting full, but then it slowly declines and there's no longer an issue. May I suggest that the bikers could use the lot that the farmer's market is using and the farmer's market move back to where they were? Any questions that you have for me?
Well, we're going to,
What are
Yeah,
you
but
saying?
wait a
here?
minute.
so we're actually going to be discussing this tonight. It is on the agenda this evening, which is coming up, the agricultural sales at the downtown lot. So we'll start with some of that here in a little bit.
Is it of benefit for me to stay for that?
It may be, because your input, can be helpful in that, in that aspect, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay, is anybody else wishing to speak under public input?
My name is Burl Johnson. Thank you for listening. I have about 5 items, so it'll take me real quick. First of all, safety things. Mill Street parking, when they got them diagonally parking the way it is, I like to know how the fire trucks, ambulance, or any of that kind of source can get through there. You meet one car in there and it's full there, you cannot meet. One's got to back up. Second thing is signs hanging over sidewalks. I know there was an issue about this a long time ago, about signs couldn't be hanging over the sidewalks, no matter what size they are. If it was a hazard, they could fall down and hurt somebody. The other thing is four-way stop. And I'm kind of recommend that to you, sir, Chief of Police. The four-way stops. I water the hanging baskets every morning or every other morning. We're doing it between 5 o'clock, 6:30. You watch that four-way stop down there and you'd be surprised how many people go through that stop sign or roll through it. I maybe seen 3 or 4 out of 50 vehicles maybe stop there. Or they don't stop. It's an issue. The other one is also directed you, Chief of Police. Guns. I'd like to know how many times since you've been here that you have drawn your pistol, your officers, or the shotgun out of the vehicle. The question is, why do we have to spend $11,000 to buy 3 rifles? Are we that bad of a crime area? We have to have those kind of guns in a vehicle? They're most likely going to be in a trunk. If this gets out, if you have a sniper in there, they could accidentally get one of our officers. Safety. My next thing is farmers market. I really think it really sucks where it is. For a simple thing, there's quite a few safety devices down there. People parking on 19, I understood. You're going to put a four-way flasher there, crossing. But what about if the people park in the other parking lot and they come down in that deep ditch? They could fall there. Besides that, the farmers market, a lot of them people that are in there, they're down at least 25 to 50% of sales. Winter was across the street from Econo Foods. You people would come out of Econo Foods. They see the farmer's market. Oh, we need some fresh vegetables. They go across. Then they might say, hey, we got to get something from downtown, if it's a hardware store, bakery, or whatever. And now you're taking business away from your people downtown. It's not right. Parking down there at the other parking place, at where you have it now. One way in, one way out. Down there where it is now, you got 2 ways in, 2 ways out. And from what I read from one of the city council meetings, it was kind of stated that it's for the people that work downtown to park there. That farmer's market has been there 30 years or more. And they don't object, because I've talked to a lot of the people that work downtown. They ain't objected to that. They think it's great because around 11 o'clock they can run down to the farmer's market and get a snack, whatever kind of vegetable they like. The other thing is, it brings more business into town. And I think a lot of the reason is, and I can look at a certain person right now, is located for the bikers. My understanding is for the bikers to park there so they can pedal their butts in their spandex pants down the bike trail. How much money do they spend in this town? Not very much. And the other thing was, oh, we got this new gazebo down there that costs how many taxpayers' money to build that? The taxpayers pay for that parking lot also. So I guess my thing is, let's move it back there, and you'll have a lot of more friendly people at the market. And I was down there the other day at 8 o'clock in the morning. There's hardly anybody down there because of the parking thing, the safety thing. And I have a petition here that I have 157 people that signed this. A lot of them are business people. I don't know who would want this, take a look, but that's how I feel about it. And this town is not Edina, Hopkins, or any of that. That's what everybody's starting to make this town look like. A new library, the school, how they added to it. It's getting to be like it's a big town. We got a lot of people in this town, our senior citizens. They could walk that extra block down there to get groceries and go to the farmer's market. You put another 2 blocks on it, they're not gonna do it. And that's about all I have to say. This is a farming community. It's not Edina, Hopkins, Bloomington, or any of that. Would you like this, sir?
Yeah, you can give it here.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else wishing to approach for public input this evening? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And I thank everyone for their input, and when we get down to the agricultural sales, we'll discuss it more and kind of go from there. At this point, we'll go to the consent agenda. Items on this area of the agenda may be adopted, or they may be removed and placed on the business area of the agenda for discussion purposes before approving. For the folks at home, I'll read the consent agenda. Item A is adjust and correct claims for the accounting period ending August the 16th, 2013. Item B is a meeting minutes for the August 6, 2013 City Council meeting. Item C, meeting minutes for the August 6, 2013 City Council work session. Item D, Riverside Terrace sewer credit. Item E, Resolution 2032, notice of intent for annexation. Item F, application for payment number 1 for the turn lanes and clinic access on County 20. Application for payment number 12 for the library project is item G. Item H, fire department pension increase. Item I, sale of fire department trailer. Item J, application for payment number 3 for the east side project. And item K, application for payment number 13, final for the library project. Any items that need to be moved or?
I've got, we can remove item D at the request of the applicant for the credit.
Okay. Item D will be removed.
I got E I need, Robbie.
And we'll move E down to item, and that'll become item 7C.
Is there a reason for that, Aaron? Was that settled or something, or?
No, they want to come back to Public Works and talk about some of it, so.
Okay.
Okay, with the exceptions of item E, D and E, the chair will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Merle, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. That moves us down to council business, which is the agricultural sales at the downtown lot.
As you heard from one of our speakers, we've had the request to be able to move the sales during the week back down to the downtown lot. As of right now, they're allowed at the overflow lot during the week if they want to use a city lot. So you've heard some of the comment about that. Public Works Commission talked about it at their last meeting, and the general consensus is that we knew that there'd be some kind of transition period with this, and we'll wait till the end of the first season, review it again, and then decide how we want to continue forward for next year. If you want to keep everything the way it is, move some back to downtown, whatever it might be. So that was the general consensus from Public Works. But again, at the request of the vendors that we do bring to the council just to ask what would the options be during the week if we would allow them to sell at the main lot, and then still, obviously, for right now, at least keeping the farmer's market where it is until we have a chance to review it all at the end of the season. So basically, that's where the request is right now. Like I said, you've heard from one of the vendors and their concerns, about not being down there during the week.
Okay. Is there any discussion from anyone?
I would just, as far as just the general farmer's market, I would say stick to what we're doing through the end of the season, and this fall or winter, we can review it. I would like to see the farmer's market folks actually get organized, where someone was in charge, and that would help us out in formulating what way to go. As far as like Steve's request, the other 6 days of the week, I'm of a mixed mind on that. The problem I see is if we let, say in this instance, and I don't mean to pick on you, Steve, but if Steve wants to sell his corn, in theory, I don't have a big problem with that during the week because it's not as busy, whatever. The thing is, then other folks will start going in and that's where the problem can be created when we start getting too many people. You know, you hope that doesn't happen. You hope it was just one or two that did it. It probably wouldn't be a big deal, but so that would be my my main concern with allowing that. I did see Steve, you had a nice little sign pointing to where you are in the winery parking lot. Just to give you a plug there so people know where you're at. And that's a good thing for you, but that's, I don't know.
Your business increased by that sign?
By the sign? I have no idea.
We were there several days before. Somebody who works on Main Street I saw her and she said, so when are you gonna start corn? I said, we've been there for several days, and she had driven by on 19 when we were still that Sunday down there. She never saw us.
I know, but I mean, you know, if you had signs like you're doing now, it makes a world of difference. I mean, people see and go, oh, okay. You know, that's a big difference right there. Because really, there is no sign downtown. You know, if there was a sign saying 1 block or whatever, you know, would make a big difference too.
I think what I rely on is years and years of tradition. Same spot, same time, same product, and people grow accustomed to that.
Steve, can you come up to the mic, please?
People grow accustomed to tradition, I guess, is routine, something like that. And they get used to turning at a certain spot. And I guess it's taken me a few years, or quite a few years, to get that gathering and get the confidence of the people that they know where to go. All of a sudden, it's disrupted. When you're coming from Rochester or from Edina or wherever, it's very confusing to drive into Cannon Falls and all of a sudden the truck isn't there. The sign is there, but they're not used to looking for a sign. That's quite a ways down their list. And they've only got a second or two. They're driving. They don't have a lot of time to look around. So I think I've missed some sales. I don't know. I know I've missed a few, but I don't know. I can't quantify it.
You know, I've said before on my time on the council, change is sometimes considered a 4-letter word by some people, and there is an adjustment period, which is why I think as the farmers market as a whole, that's why we wanted to go through a whole season and then evaluate at that time, because you know, the change is tough. I know it's tougher for you because you do it every day versus just on Saturdays. You know, so I mean, I understand that, yeah, you probably did lose a few sales just because they weren't sure to, you know, traditions are hard to break. And
The other issue, like I said before, is the farmer's market on Saturday. There are a few issues there that we haven't really resolved, and one is safety, for one thing. There was a safety issue with the overcrowding in the old parking lot. Moving it where we did, I don't think improved matters at all. People are parking on 19 and walking across the busy highway. They're walking down in a ditch, like Merle said. If we had one large parking lot with two access that would improve a lot, but we don't have it down there.
Now, we have, now Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong on this. One of the items we had planned on doing was extending the trail from that parking lot down and eventually come under the bridge and join up with the existing.
Right, I mean, that's
Trail.
definitely a plan, it's just the funding part of it is.
Right,
is
we're
the
we're
hard
waiting
part.
on that.
Yeah,
But the other item I had mentioned a little bit earlier is we need the farmers market people to become organized. And by doing that, then they can set it up where some of the safety issues would become less. I know we've had problems this year at the existing, where we've moved it this year to the overflow lot, and then there's the gravel lot that's right next to it. If they were organized, there's probably a way that we can address some of the safety issues by having the vendors be in a certain spot, but everyone else drive in at another spot and park and walk in there. I've seen too many times, especially when it was in the downtown lot, people driving right through the middle of it. And that's what kind of prompted us in the first place, that was a real safety issue from us. I know they mentioned the bikers, but that's just a secondary aspect of this. So, you know, safety in either spot is not ideal, but I think with the right organization on the part of the people in the farmers market, I think we can make it better.
You talk about people driving through the farmer's market, moving it has not addressed that issue at all.
Right, and that's where the farmers market, the folks getting organized. If you go to many other towns, they have, I don't know what the word you want to do, associations or groups, and they regulate things within the farmers market. And if the folks here could get organized, that would certainly help.
Isn't organized a four-letter word?
We'll discuss that tomorrow.
You know, I mean, there are safety issues with where they park. I mean, one way, I mean, it is tight in there where you guys are right now. I mean, I was over there a couple weeks and I talked to you, and it is tight. I don't think we should have vehicles driving around that. I mean, you guys should be set up in there, but we shouldn't have vehicles going around in there because it's so tight in that small lot right now. I mean, we should have it to where they would have to park either on 19 and walk right there or in the other lot at this point. I mean, the ones that choose to cross 19, well, I mean, that's their prerogative in that aspect of it. I mean, we can't stop that. And they're going to still do it even if the parking lot's over there. I mean, you're still going to have those people that do that. I think signage can be a little bit better for that. I mean, and somebody pointed it out to me the other day when I was there. You know, the sign runs parallel to the road. I says, you pass it by before you even see it. You know, it needs to be perpendicular so that, you know, you can see the sign.
Turn it.
You know, or put a,
Two-
like a V,
two-sided.
you know, kind of like what the Veterans Monument has over there where you can see it from both sides. I mean, something like that will make it a lot more visible. I mean, it could say, you know, Cannon Falls Farmers Market Saturdays from, you know, and seasonal, Monday through Saturday seasonal, or Monday, or 7 days a week seasonal, you know, and you know, that would make it a lot more visible for everybody. And I know change isn't good. I mean, nobody likes it, but it's something that we all have to live with as we, you know, as we go forward. I mean, this isn't, no, we'll never become Medina, and we won't become Apple Valley because we'll never get that big. But I mean, Cannon Falls is going to grow, folks. I mean, it's inevitable. And the good thing is, we're going to grow with it, and we've got to look at those things as we move forward, and we got to try to take everybody's best interest and grow at the same time.
If the farmer's market originated down where it is now, and we were going to move it up to the city parking lot, to where it used to be, if the roles were reversed, would we find objection to it?
Could.
You could, but I don't think you're going to find
Oh, I think.
the amount of objection that you're finding now, I'm finding nearly universal, which doesn't affect me as a vendor, except that the customers might be affected. It seems to me, if we had it back in the original location with some ropes to limit access to vehicles and limit the area, I was outside of the limit last year, but maybe not allow anybody up on that east side of the road. I think there are some considerations to be made that would make it safer in the older location.
Steve, I'd like to say something, and I'd like you to stick around and then comment afterwards, because I've gotten a bundle of calls on this for the last 2 weeks.
How many were favorable?
Probably 3. And there was probably 30 of them that weren't. So, but I kind of want to address it or talk about this tonight so that we can kind of get a handle on it. Hopefully the phone calls will, I'll get a better understanding for the people out there, how we arrived at all this. And first of all, Aaron, I got to ask you, did you, when we took on this Highway 19 project, did you understand that the state was going to use that overflow parking lot and that there was going to be all this? I mean, when we talked about resurfacing, I feel a little guilty because I didn't check into it more. I just went on the assumption it's going to be ground off and it's going to be there for 2 days. Then equipment's going to come in, it's going to be all blacktop in 2 days, and then we're done. And knowing the state, they would drag it on for 10 days instead of 2 days, not just the way things go sometimes. But I didn't plan on all these curbs being knocked out. I didn't plan on them using our overflow parking. And I was wondering why that happened and if we're being paid for that or how that works.
Yeah, no, I mean, we weren't really notified. They've been using it.
They
And
didn't even notify us they were going to use it?
I can ask Tom if he knew, but as far as I know, we weren't, I don't know, Dave, if you've heard differently, but we weren't notified that they were going to use it, so no, we didn't know, but
I mean, we
they are.
paid for that lot. The state gave us permission to do it, but we put it all in there. It has nothing to do with the state. So,
I mean, if they cause any damages or anything, they're going to have to, fix the lot, that sort of thing, but no, I mean, we weren't planning on them having, long-term storage of equipment and things there. That wasn't something we were thinking was going to happen.
Right. The other thing is, yeah, that answered that for me. The other thing is that when we first started about doing this, I was on the Public Works probably a year or 2 ago when we talked about switching this. And the reason we talked about switching it is that the parking lot was becoming too congested. And we weren't sitting there and blaming one or the other, but there was too many bikers, there was too many farmers market people, and there was too many people that got jobs downtown and want to park there. To give you an example, 10 years ago, I think Schofield Drug had 2 or 3 people in there. Now I think they've probably got 10 people working in there. So things have changed downtown. One of the things I get from people when they always call is you're catering to, and they add a few other words, the bikers. And I always tell them that we discussed all that. We actually wanted the bikers and the farmers market and everything down to the overflow. The overflow, our intentions was when we talked about doing this, and then we got lucky enough to have this extra dirt from another project to fill in and make that lot bigger, is it was discussed that we wanted that to become a community area. We wanted eventually to have a building down there with restrooms. We eventually someday wanted not only farmers market, we wanted flea market. We also discussed, one of our planning commission members said there was a problem if people are traveling, coming to town and seeing their families with their motorhomes, we don't have a Walmart or any place to park motorhomes. It was also discussed that we would have RV parking down there too in the back of that over extra lot. So the whole plan was for this to kind of be a community area and be designated that even out on the highway on the sign, and the highway department could use it for a rest stop area too. So we wanted to make it a real involved thing. The other thing we discussed, we had some grant money and it fell through. We wanted to get a sidewalk from this lot down underneath the bridge. If people ever walked underneath that bridge, they'd be totally amazed. There's about 120 mudbirds that build underneath that thing, and it's fascinating as heck. We thought it would be a good trail underneath there. People wouldn't have to cross that highway. They could go underneath and come back up. So we talked about all the safety. The farmer's market being in the existing lot, every farmer wants to have his truck right out front. The problem is you got with that, if you have it out front and you've got big side doors on your truck, you're actually blocking where you're coming down to that stop sign. The other thing is, a lot of people want the convenience of that truck being there and just holler out the window, give me a dozen real quick, and not get out of the car and hold the traffic up, and some people get tense. We also brought up the fact that we would like the farmers market people originally, if we don't move them, we want them to go to the back of the lot. And we wanted to have the farmers market against the bank by the winery. And the reason for that is we get everything away from that intersection. But it was brought back to me that they didn't like being away from the highway. So there was very good intentions to expand this down there and to make this more of a community area. Signage has been terrible. Something is to be desired so that I think there was an announcement in the paper, and that, like they say, the banner down there is sideways. You can't even see it till after you buy it. So there could have been more signage done. We could have had the sidewalk in. We could have done a lot more things to make that as a community area. The other thing was, that was discussed, if we put it down there, people actually could drive in, and between the police and the farmers market people set things up so that you could get a flow of traffic through there and actually drive by, pick up your cord, never get out of the car if you want. The ideal situation would be is if families come there, and in between these two parking lots, we had some playthings. If they wanted to stop with the family and the kids wanted to play and stuff. So there was nothing discussed that we're trying to cater to the bikers or anything else. This is all about, we got growing pains, what do we do to make this better? Now, having said that, and I think this construction thing that's going on right now is terrible. And the worst part of it is, it's your guys' peak period. This is your time from August to October. So whether we're going to be tied up another week or another 3 weeks downtown, I think it's terrible for you guys. I understand. I also don't like the fact that if you are down in the other parking lot and the state has got machinery, I mean, they had big chunks of concrete down there one day. You had to have a big loader to do this. So I think it's a real bad situation. Getting to the crossing thing, the ideal thing for Twin Rivers with the big community we got there is, yeah, whatever we could do to cater to them, we want to do that. But we are doing this crossing thing, and that was a major step for us, and we're hoping to make that better for ball games and for everything else. So my thing would be right now, I would like the council to put the farmers market back in the downtown parking lot till this stuff is done. And then once, if you want to wait till spring or a month from now, go back to the other lot, I'm fine, because the traffic and the problems down there is just absolutely terrible. If you go through there during the day, all the sides say Highway 19 is closed. My family was out in Colorado, came back, said 19 is closed off. So it's definitely affected these people. So I would really like the council to think about putting it back in the farmers or in the parking lot. But I also would like us to build and develop and go back to the other one when this construction stuff's all done.
Are you making that a motion, Leroy?
Yeah, I'd like to make that a motion.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor by Leroy to temporarily move the farmer's market back to the city parking lot while this construction's going on for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I would like to see it in the back of the lot, and I would like Jeff to work with them to make it safe.
I would probably say, I would probably recommend it go even right there towards the front, but have it in a roped off area to where they can be in that area and keep cars from driving in and out of there, because they won't need the whole lot. And some of the bikers could go around and then they could park on the other side there. Then you could still have room for people to get in and out of there.
Yep.
I mean, and I think Jeff we could figure out a way to do that if, you know, if that's approved. Is there any other discussion? If not, Chair will take a motion, or second.
I'll second.
And I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion carries.
Do,
3 weeks.
okay, so do we want a police officer down there during the market, or
No,
how do we
just-
want to handle it? Just going to rope off a certain area, or, I mean, we'd have to probably use the barriers or whatever to do it, would make
Yeah,
the
I'd
most
probably
sense.
just use the barriers just for a certain section, like,
So what
maybe
would,
take-
what would we like to close off, that first section that's closest to the highway, just block that off on both sides?
well, at least one side, you know, can, at least halfway down, I would think, about halfway down. I mean, you guys are the vendors. I think about halfway down, because if you look at it, where it is in the other lot, about halfway down, if you marked it and had people on both sides, that would just about cover it. What do you think?
Sometimes you need the whole, from both sides, from the driveway down to the building.
Okay, well, I mean, we can do that too.
I mean, that eliminates traffic from flow.
My recommendation would be that if we're going to do that, we would barricade at the driveway and then again at the gazebo.
Yeah. that
Simply
would make
because if we get
sense.
cars in there, it's going to be hard for them to get turned around.
Right.
Especially if all they do is come in, shop, and then try to back out.
So who's going to organize letting the vendors inside the barricades get set up?
Well, this is where we come back to that issue about the
Right.
organization.
We need it organized.
You know, for this, at this point in time, it's just gonna be, these guys are gonna have to self-police themselves. We'll put up the barriers, but they're gonna have to deal with it on their own, about if somebody's going in there that they shouldn't, they're gonna need to enforce it themselves. But I think when it comes to the, you know, later this year, when we have the discussion about what we wanna do next year, we probably should get to the point where we start maybe going to the city running it, and we'll just require licenses, and then we'll know who's going in there, we'll have all the contact
permit,
information. We can, you know, like most cities do, they require licensing, they get all the information from the vendors. Then we can control, you know, these sort of issues, if we have complaints about vendors, if we have problems, but then we can organize with them and let them know, hey, we got everybody's contact information, here's the plan, you know, for this year, here's what's happening. Then we've got some control, and then we know who we're dealing with, right? I mean, right now, we reach out to 3 different people, and they all say, well, not me. So that's where we always run into these issues. I mean, we try to reach out to a number, ask about, well, signage, what would you like to see? What should it say? Do you have any? Nobody would respond. So I think it's just better off if we look at licensing it, controlling it that way, and then we can clear this stuff up. We can still decide later where we want to go and how to handle that. But, you know, I think if we set it up in a more formal process, it'll be better for us. We'll have a little more contact and control. It's not something we really are looking forward to doing, but, you know, at the same time, it's just, otherwise, we're just having these issues.
We're having chaos.
Yeah.
Now, how long are we going to do this on a temporary basis?
3
or-
weeks, he said.
About 3 weeks till this project, or till they get with the 19, getting that repaved.
Okay.
And then we'll look at moving it back.
So
So
we're-
once they're done, we'll move it back. We'll just play it by ear. And
So
see
we're
how it
looking basically through middle September,
goes. Probably
probably?
something like
Yeah.
that.
And that was a question I had for council, was just, basically, you want to go with until 19 project is done.
Yep.
And we don't have any more of those headaches that go with that. That the
Then we can
vendors will be
readdress
in
it.
the city lot across from the library, or not library, the post office. And then after that, move back into the overflow, or not the park and ride, correct?
So then, this would also apply to the daily,
That was my next question, is what do you want to
Vendors?
do with the daily one? Allow those down there too then, which would seem to make sense in
on,
this
a- on, a- on, a-
situation.
on the same temporary
Yeah.
platform?
I think I don't even think it's healthy. I mean, the one day I drove through there, there was dust all over the place flying around down there. I can't imagine a vendor having vegetables out there with all this dust.
Do we want to allow the weekly sales down there for just the rest of the season, or just for the temporary part until the construction's done?
Well, I would like Jeff to actually go down there and walk through and say, you know what? If we put him in the first row coming in, and we'd give him 8 rows back here, that would still leave us 4 rows in front of parking. So we'll put markers across right here, and they can have from here down. I'd like you to go over to the back of the parking lot and say this would work out best. And then you determine what is the safest, what is the best way to do this, and then that's what we'll go with.
Well, and I think that's the right idea for next year, is we need to have that conversation then next year about how can we balance the needs of the market vendors with what we think are the safety issues. But honestly, I think for this year, for the next 3 weeks out there, we're better off let's just block that front area, leave it at that for now, give us time to actually plan it out and figure out what we want to do for next year. And then, like I said, then we can decide, do we stay downtown, do we go to the overflow, or go to the park and ride lot? How do we block it off? How do we manage it? Then we can deal with it more formally. And then hopefully, once we start requiring registration, then we can get the contact information for the vendors and nobody's surprised, and we can try to get their input onto what they would like to see.
And I think, Aaron, that in our plans for next year then, with going back, we need to put more thought into signage. I don't care if it's just banners or putting in a couple posts and banners, but we need to think about the whole overall picture.
And that's the other part too that we've talked about. I mean, what you are starting to do then is incur expense related to the market. So that's when you look at requiring them to register and pay a fee.
That's when fees have to come into
I
play.
also want the bikers. I want signs out there that says bikers, welcome to Cannon Falls parking area. I want to encourage to try to get that parking lot strictly back to employees in Commerce for LTOFs, or I don't know what it is, but we need to make that
don't think there's-
more of a community area and look at the whole overall picture instead of just, here's a box, crawl in there and see what you could do.
I don't think that we have that many, I don't think we have that many people parking there that work there, though, to tell you the truth. A lot of them park right behind their buildings over there. I mean, so that part of the parking lot, there's not that many employees that actually park over there.
Well, by doing this tonight, I'm afraid we've created a lot more chaos than was already in place, so.
And the other thing is, I mean, they really fill that overflow parking up during the week too.
During the week, yeah.
Well, yeah,
So,
during
I
the week,
mean-
that's Mayo, strictly Mayo parking there.
I did talk to Tom one time about temporarily till someday we could blacktop that or something. We should at least put some parking bumpers in there or something to get kind of a system in the extra parking lot of how you would drive through, or if there's gonna be RV parking in the back.
Yep.
We can address all that and make that.
So what I'll do when we have this conversation as far as next year, I don't know, in October or whatever, I'll get some more information about how other cities manage theirs and fees and things, and we can kind of decide from there. But yeah, I guess the last point is weekly sales, should we just let it go for the rest of this year? During the week, since there's probably 2, maybe 3 vendors. If it becomes a problem where we get more than that during the week, we can
wanna amend
bring
the
it back
motion?
and discuss it again.
You want to amend the motion then?
Just make a new one talking about the weekly sales.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion to allow the weekly sales for the rest of the year?
I'll make a motion on that.
We got a motion by Rod,
Second.
and a second by Jay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good.
Hey, we got the 2 young guys to put her out there. Good deal.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify so I can make sure that my officers get the right information. Starting this weekend, we will close off that front section until at such point as 19 is completely done.
Right.
The weekly or weekday, Sunday and weekdays, will occur in the city lot for the rest of the growing season.
Right,
And
but,
then-
but they still cannot park their vehicles overnight, which has happened in the past.
Okay. And we will work with the Public Works to get some barricades down there. And then we'll get them up in place in the morning, probably, 6 in the morning. And then the vendors are going to kind of have to
Work it out.
work
Steve, if you
together
guys
in
are-
in getting in there and locating.
Stephen, you guys will know, we'll be down there, and Roseanne there saying that they'll be there to help.
Okay. And
direct
when it wraps
everybody.
up, we're send somebody back down, shortly after noon or whatever to take them down. If the last vendor moves them, that's just a help to us.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And let's get back to the agenda. Okay, that moves us on to item B, the new pool study.
This really kind of came about for a couple of reasons. I mean, one, when we were, discussing, reviewing the financial management plan kind of earlier this year, then talking about using the general fund reserves and things like that. One of the items that definitely popped up was that we've got kind of some larger expense maintenance items on the pool that are coming due over the next few years. That's, between the painting, the redoing of the lot, some equipment upgrades, things like that. I mean, we're looking at, probably roughly $100,000 worth of repairs on the pool or the general pool area that really are just maintenance repairs. I mean, they don't do anything, as we know, we discussed a year or so ago, the ADA issues with the pool. And, one of the main things is in the decision that was made by the council was that it doesn't do us much good to invest a lot of money to make, say, like the pool itself with a lift to be ADA accessible, or the buildings ADA accessible, because nobody can get to them if they were handicapped, because the lot itself is so much lower than the pool that we can't put in ramps that meet ADA requirements to ramp it, so we'd have to put an elevator in to bring people up from the lot to the pool level to be able to access the pool, which obviously is cost prohibitive from what we can do. It's not, it's not a realistic thing. So as we look closer at it is the fact that we're going to be putting a lot of money in that's just basic maintenance. Nothing's going to be improved, nothing's going to be upgraded. It's just really to keep things going. Now, if anything comes up that's above that, problems, leaks, we don't have anything really set to deal with that. Also came about is that a number of cities in our area have been going through this process. Casson went through the process, they're done, they have their new facility up, it's really nice. Byron's going to be going through it now because they have a leak in theirs, and they didn't want to spend the money to fix it, so they're going to actually have their pool closed all next summer instead of investing the money into it until they can work through this process to decide if they want to build a new one or put the money in and try to fix it. So when we talk about all this, the question then comes up is this is probably the right time, if we're going to ever look at it, to take a look at, should we do a new pool facility? Basically the process is that you kind of do a study, you form a committee, generally you request citizens to be involved, council member, very much like the library, really, same situation. And then from there, if and when we do this study, then we do have a proposal here from a firm that basically does all the studies in Minnesota. There's not a lot of firms out there, so this is the one that everybody does, and they like them. They do a good job. I haven't heard any complaints about the studies and the proposals. So, but anyways, if we went through with it, we did this study, we put together this plan for a new pool, and we find out it's going to cost $3 million. Seems to be about the magic number anymore. $3 million for a new pool, could be more, could be less, but that's generally seeming to be what it's be. Then from there, it's deciding, okay, well, here's what it is. If we want to move forward, we need to go to a referendum. So what happens then is generally speaking, you hold a special election for it. Not super expensive because really it's a one-item election. We only need, very minimum amount of election judges. Very different than a general election. Doesn't cost you much to do it. You hold the election, you see what happens. If it gets approved, then we know we've got the approval. We're going to move forward with this complex. The citizens want to see it. But if it's denied, then we also know that the citizens are happy with what we have, so we just need to keep budgeting to pay and repair, the pool we have. But at least at that point, then we know for sure where we're at. Overall, when you look at it, you're looking at the study costs. roughly about, $8,000, a little more than that. We can pay for that from our park dedication funds. There's no issue with that. If and when we decided to go forward with it, if you're gonna have a special election, it's gonna cost, $1,000, somewhere in there. So you're looking at a total for hopefully around $10,000 or less. We'll know for sure where we stand. And most of that money is a study. But then we know where we're at. Are we putting the money in the right way? I would hate to see us put $100,000 into the pool over the next 2 years and then decide, in 2016 that we should really do a new pool. Well, we could have used that money somehow towards that new one at least then. So that was the thought behind it. We took it to Public Works, discussed it. Public Works agrees that if we're going to take a look at something like this, probably now is a good time. Like I said, we've seen success in cities just like ours, Casson, Pine Island's actually starting the process right now too. We just found out about that one today. Byron's going through it now. So we've seen some successes with it. But the bottom line is, approved or not, at the end of the process, if we go through with it, we'll know where the citizens stand. And then, it's tough to have an argument that we should be putting money into the old pool or we shouldn't be putting money into a new pool if we have the referendum and everybody can vote on it.
Now, what was it, Stewartville, was it, or was it Casson put it in and they were coming out a lot more participation? They were.
Casson's new one is way ahead of where they thought it would be. It still doesn't make money. It's still losing money, but they're losing money on a really nice facility. So, it's, the citizens really like it. So that's it. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to make money on it no matter what it is, but Casson's happy because they were losing money before. They're losing money still. They're not losing any more money, but they're losing money on something that everybody really likes.
It's a
really
quality
great.
of life issue.
Right. The citizens like it. They're getting people that come from, all the neighboring towns to use it. I mean, they're way ahead of where their numbers they thought they would be on it. They've gotten, just a great reception with theirs. And it is a really nice facility. We toured it this summer. We had some city administrators in the area went and took a look because a lot of us are in the same boat, Zumbrota and Pine Island and us. I mean, we're all at some point, Kenyon, we're all at some point going to be taking a look at trying to do something like this. Wanamingo, we all went and took a look. And yeah, the administrator in Casson was, very much the kind of same situation we were, where they were going to start putting money into it, and the council decided, well, we might as well hear what the people have to say first, and then we know. And then it's tough to argue with it when you go up to a vote. You still can, but I mean, you've got a pretty good defense that hey, we did what the citizens really wanted us to do with it. But yeah, it really does look like a high quality of life thing. It's very popular in Casson.
I know,
it's going
just
really
like
well.
today, I know somebody was in and they were going to Red Wing.
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know. I mean,
It's amazing what you can offer, and basically, we have plenty of room where we are. I mean, a footprint that's not much bigger than the pool area we have right now. It's amazing what you can fit in there and what you can offer for amenities for the pool.
The one thing, Aaron, I would like to know when you get into this is what the attendance has been for the last 10 years. Has it gone up or down, or has it been flat, or?
It's always been sort of a steady kind of a decrease. We'll have up years. I mean, we have a hot summer, you get good attendance. If you have a more mild summer, not so much.
The one thing is that I think about listening to you, and when I was reading about it, is that now people that go for the pool stuff, they really go big. They go with major entertainment. And they have a park associated with it. Down in Red Wing, you have the Colville Park and the boats and everything else. And when you say $3 million, I can't believe that something like that costs $3 million. It must cost more than that, don't it? So if you go with the standard pool, I guess my first thoughts is, I can remember when the money was being raised for this pool, and we had thermometers downtown to show where we were at, and people volunteered time. I remember talking about the reason they put it in that hole is actually because of the heat during the day. That was more economical to have the pool in that valley.
Oh.
So there was a lot of thought put into this.
Yeah.
I also think about that. I know we could be handicap accessible because of the openings, and if we refixed up the building that's there. But I also believe that we could put parking on the east side of that pool area and make a flat area where half a dozen stalls for handicaps could park up on that side, walk-in level.
Yeah.
So
You
I
could.
think if that's an issue, I definitely want to address that. But the whole idea of building a new pool, just for lack of better words, scares the hell out of me with our budget stuff.
Well, and again, that's really the main reason why you do it this way, is you involve citizens up front in the planning, and then you involve the citizens in the voting. I mean, everybody gets to vote on it.
But this is just, it's more than a pool.
Oh, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not a pool.
it's-
They're,
It's, right,
yeah, it's an aquatic center.
center, yeah.
Whatever exactly that means, but there's a lot of stuff there, that's for sure.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the new pool study.
Have have a motion by Bill, a second by Merle to approve the new pool study. Is there any further discussion? Not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Okay, so what we'll do is probably, once we get it kind of set up a little bit, we're gonna start reaching out to citizens. We'll do some things in the paper and on the website and the cable channel and stuff, but we'll be asking for citizens to volunteer to serve on the committee to help with this planning process. And then we'll come back, I'm sure we'll need a council member on there, that always goes well. Maybe we can get double duty, somebody that's on Public Works too, or something like that, but we'll try to get a nice committee of citizens that are involved, some council members, obviously staff will be involved with it, and we'll get the process going, so.
Okay, that moves us on to item 7C, which is the Resolution 2032, Notice of Intent for Annexation.
Okay, Aaron. That word annexation just sends chills up my spine every time I hear it. And I realize the city's got to grow. I realize we can't hold back. But I know I mentioned it to you one time about 2 years ago, and you said absolutely no, and then I showed you an article. Then you changed your mind a little bit. So my thing is, why aren't we working with Cannon Falls Township and let them build their own suburb and keep their own tax base, and we'll sell them the sewer and water instead of us taking on more projects. And it just bothers me that this intersection is going to grow, which is a good thing, but then we turn around and need another snowplow or two. We need another 2, 3 more public works. We need another police. All this goes with it. And I get worried about that. I would like this city to just stay the way it is and the budget balance out and not keep running into these problems. And this just bites into another problem again.
One, the township wouldn't want that. They're not equipped to handle developments. You know, their infrastructure isn't there, their equipment, I mean, they don't want paved roads. They don't want to deal with a paved road. They don't, you know, the township recognizes it, and so does the county. The county doesn't want to deal with that. The county doesn't want to be sending deputies for a problem that is connected to the city of Cannon Falls. If it's that close and there's going to be a development, it should be in the city so the city can provide the services, because that's what we're set up to do.
Well, the county can pay us to send Jeff out there. I'm okay with that.
And they would rather we just annexed it. And the other part of it is yeah, I mean, as we grow, we're going to have to add things, equipment, staff, whatever it is. The hope is that a 52-acre development, especially in this area, which we're assuming is going to be commercial industrial, that sort of tax base is going to help support that. You know, your hope is that the growth that you're allowing in is going to support the new services that you need. You're going to get it through the taxes. Obviously, you're going to get it through new users on your water and sewer system. We don't have to expand our water and sewer system to serve this area. All we have to do is run a line to them, and they'll pay in to help keep our rates lower, because we're going to have the same cost to operate it. We're just going to have more people paying now. So, you know, all those sort of things play into why you annex. I mean, it's the same situation as when we had a little while back with that housing development that was proposed by the Peterson Turkey Farm. Goodhue County doesn't want to see that happen either, because that's something they have to deal with. If the county has to send sheriff deputies, things like that, they're next to a city. I mean, we're set up to handle these sort of things, so when growth happens, it should happen within the city. It's just
Well, my thing
the right
is,
way for it
Aaron,
to do.
as long as, if we did something like this, that this person or corporation totally knows that any main enlarging or anything to accommodate this is going to be their full bill.
Right.
Yep, we've always stressed that, you know, when somebody puts it in development, we require them to run utilities not only to serve their development, but also pass to the edge of their parcel to serve the next development as well, or, you know, the future growth as well.
I know.
So that's not gonna change. We require that with all of them. They've gotta run the pipe to serve them and all the way through their property to serve the next one. And they've gotta pay for that.
We do have green gumbo clay out there, and make sure that you spend all this money, you know all that up front. You also know that it would be better to put PVC in that green gumbo clay than cast iron, because PVC will bend.
Well,
Cast will shear off.
when we start doing the infrastructure extension for stuff like this, we can definitely, you know, we've got control because it's our infrastructure. They're paying for it, but it's ours, so we can definitely look at the PVC again.
Right, I just want to make sure that everybody understands this, and that green clay thing on top of our hill out here, I just feel bad that the homework wasn't done on that. I don't want another deal like that.
No, none of us do.
That's it, Rob.
Okay.
What does this mean to the zoning that we did for the hospital out there?
Whenever
Will
we,
this be included in that?
well, usually whenever we annex in, it just becomes urban reserve, which is our kind of holding zoning. And what that means is it has to be rezoned before they can actually do anything. But in this situation, I don't see any reason why it would go with that zoning. I mean, it's adjacent to it, it's gonna be part of that same sort of development, so I don't see how it would not be the hospital, you know, commercial zoning area.
Okay.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, and the developer understands that, or will understand that? Okay.
And right now, it's just, Mr. Moline wants to annex the property in there. I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen there, but he wants to annex the property in, and if he has something, then we'll
Yeah, I mean,
worry
I
about it
probably
then.
met with him, one of the first weeks I started, I probably met with him at the old hospital, you know, there, because he knew that the plans were in place, they were gonna start to get it going, and so we've been working with this developer or this property owner for a very long time. So he understands everything that's going on.
Okay.
Hey, Merlis makes a good point, Aaron. So if we annex this, would this land be under the same restrictions that we put under all the Mayo Clinic stuff, or would this be a separate thing and could be anything over there?
Well, I mean, technically, whenever we annex something in, it just defaults to that urban reserve zoning, but all that means is that the urban reserve zoning says that before you can do any development, you have to change it to new zoning that, you know, matches the area. So it's gonna be that same zoning as that hospital area, yes.
So a big truck stop would probably not fit then on that land?
No,
The Southeast Campus PUD that we put on the hospital site itself and the 3 private properties around it, Mr. Moline will have the ability to request that zoning, or alternatively look for what will be our new C2, which is currently our B2 commercial zone, which is the highway commercial. My guess is that he's going to look to do the zoning, the traditional B2, C2 zoning on the parcel that he's annexing, as opposed to the PUD that we place on the hospital site. He could request either. At this point, he hasn't had to do that, but once it's annexed, he will have to go through the rezoning from urban reserve to whatever, through the planning commission, and go through the subdivision process. So it'll be his request in terms of what kind of zoning that he would prefer.
Oh, okay.
And what kind of zoning he would request would depend on whether we allow it or not.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to go
Yeah.
through the planning
Yeah,
commission
we
and
have
city
to-
council
we have
to
to
approve it.
approve
So
it.
he's a long ways, even following an annexation, he's a long ways from receiving development permits.
Here with that, any further discussion? If not, Chair will take a motion to approve Resolution 2032, providing notice of intent to annex property owned by Moline Enterprises LLC and Brent Moline to the city of Cannon Falls.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Merle, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. That brings us to reports. Mr. Maroney. Greg?
The east side project's moving along well. All of the streets north of 19 currently that are gravel should be blacktop by this weekend. And the pipe work on the south side of 19 will probably be wrapped up by Labor Day. And then those streets will get put back together to curb and gutter and blacktop. So they're well on their way to meet their completion date of mid-September.
With the second coat and everything? Wow.
Chief?
Hard to believe we're almost to the end of August. School will be coming back into session on the 3rd. Being that that'll be our first council meeting, I wanted to remind the citizens that kids will start getting on the buses, riding their bikes to school and walking, and just be paying attention to them. Once again, they'll be out early in the morning and again in the afternoon. Okay.
Merle?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing tonight.
Roy?
No.
I just want to say, when they do get the roads done, East Water Street's not going to be a drag strip, folks, so kids, remember that. The boys will be watching. That's all I got.
See you, bud.
You do?